The 4 endocrine disruptors affecting your fertility. So endocrine disruptors are kind of like chemicals that fuck up your hormones, particularly testosterone and estrogen. I did an entire video on this, which is on my YouTube channel. It's the thumbnail where I'm shirtless. It's like increased testosterone naturally. That's the entire video, so go and watch that. I'll just very quickly cover, there's a couple of chemicals, like endocrine disruptors, that are out there that is just worth talking about. And the first one is phthalates. Phthalates is a kind of chemical that makes plastic flexible. Plastic packaging, you know, that, like, if you imagine you're in the supermarket and you're gonna go buy a steak, or you're gonna go buy a bag of apples, and it's got that plasticky bag around it. Phthalates. And there's a paper that investigated this. There was strong evidence that phthalates decrease testosterone levels in men. Strong evidence that phthalates in the mother causes the testes in the fetus less testosterone to be produced. And there was quite strong evidence that phthalates decrease sperm count in men. So imagine that. These soft plastic material, which is phthalates, like this, it emits this chemical, which has got pretty strong evidence that it will lower your testosterone, your sperm. And whether your mother had it while she was pregnant with you, or your wife has it while she's pregnant with your son, it will literally mess up his testosterone for life, by the way. That's permanent. You know, when you start to think about some of these things, is it crazy to think about that extreme life where you live in a house where there's absolutely no plastics, where you and your wife know just already, yeah, we're not going to buy the thing that's in plastic. You've already contacted the local farmer, you buy directly from him, and you've even done a deal with him where, for example, you pay him an extra $100 a week when he's delivering your stuff directly from the farm to you. He's bringing meat and eggs and milk and everything, and you tell him, I don't want it to touch plastic. This is something, I'm allergic, for example, just to explain it to him easily. And you give him an extra $100. Okay, here's some cardboard boxes, put it in this. Here's some, like, it's called wax paper. You can put the meat in there instead, and, you know, wrap it up instead of putting it into plastic. You pay him an extra $50, $100 a week just for him to, like, process, like, to, you know, put your stuff in non-plastic stuff. You buy directly, like, the fruit directly from him. It doesn't get sent to the factory where it gets packaged. It gets put in the plastic and it just sits there. It seems a bit extreme, but again, for your future son's testosterone, is that extreme? Because it seems, you know, hard to do these things right now. But once we've set this up, imagine once you've set up that imaginary deal with a nearby farmer, it's set up. Or imagine right here, right now, as, like, you know, a young person and your mum's buying, like, the groceries, your parents buy it, you don't really look into that stuff. Is it totally hard for you to just, like, request from your mother, oh yeah, could we get that other style instead? For example, we're gonna actually, I'll tell you it right now actually. So there's another chemical which has got a big ass name. It's polytetrafluoroethylene, PTFE. It's known as Teflon. You've heard of, you know, Teflon pans, non-stick pans. Metal's not supposed to be non-stick. Like, if you fry something on metal, it's not supposed to be non-stick. So they've put chemicals in that. And Teflon has been shown to decrease testosterone, everything decreases testosterone and sperm count. Because this is like a modern invention that they're using random chemicals to, like, make your life slightly easier. You want to have like a pan that doesn't stick to the meat that you cook on it, or the eggs. Well, guess how you do that? Put butter in the pan. And real butter. The point I was just about to make with the previous one is it so hard, for example, to convince your mother that instead of getting the seed oil butter, like in the UK, we've got this Cope one, which is called, I can't believe it's not butter. Yeah, because it's not, because it's got seed oils in it. I can't believe it's affecting my sperm count. Go fuck yourself with your fucking marketing. What you need, like, so I said this to my mom once, I don't want this seed oil butter. Can you get, like, the real butter? Like, it's called Lawpack in the UK. That's one of the brands. It's just butter. Like, I don't want fucking plant rapeseed oil spread or whatever the fuck. Like, most of it, if you go down the butter aisle, I'm telling you right now, most of it is Cope. Most of it is literally just seed oil spreads. It's just chemicals. What you want is pure, just cow, grass-fed butter. Nothing else. She goes and she gets me a big tub of it. It's in a tub, right? It's in a plastic tub. That's bad by itself. And I'm literally just looking, I'm like, that's cope. That's definitely cope. The first word I see on top of the tub is spreadable. And I already know that I don't even have to look at the ingredients list. Cope. Imagine fat from your body. Is that spreadable? Is that spreadable? Imagine like pure fat. Is that spreadable? No, right? So I look at the ingredients list of this spreadable thing, like by the company that usually produces really good stuff. Rapeseed oil. They're putting extra shit in here. So I told her specifically, like, I should have said this the first time. Sorry, like, I'm not going to eat this. The exact, like, the one, butter, if you want to have the non-stick pan. Well, what you do is you get a pan that does stick. A pure cast iron stainless steel pan. You get real butter, which in the UK we call, it's the brand is called Lurpak, and it specifically is the ones which are kind of shaped like a brick. It's in kind of like a tinfoil wrapping. It's not in some plastic tub. It doesn't say fucking spreadable on it, because if it says spreadable, it's got oils. It's got seed oils. It needs to be like this kind of hard kind of texture that if you were buttering your bread, it would kind of rip it apart. And the idea is you just don't leave this in the fridge, then you leave it like in a container, like outside, so it's room temperature. Even when when you buy the right butter, if you buy the one that's spreadable, it's got extra seed oils that then fuck up your health. So is it that difficult, for example, for us to avoid this, and you tell your mother, can we just get this one? That, for example, you show her the exact picture of the one that you think is right. Can we get the apples that you can buy individually? Maybe we can go to like the farm store together instead of the ones that have already been processed. And you can just like, if you don't think your parents are going to understand this, you can just tell them like, oh, these ones just don't taste as good, please. Like, the farmers one, and then we can support the farmers, and it's just kind of like fun. We can go together, and you end up going to like the farmers market where you can literally buy like each individual apple like there, like it's in your hand, compared to like a bag with all the like plasticky, like just sperm killing material there. So that was number 4, but we'll just say that's number 2. So the third chemical is called bisphenol A. You've heard of this one before, BPA. You've heard of these plastic companies, or these companies that have like plasticky stuff. They market their products as BPA free. BPA free is cope. Now BPA, first of all, it makes plastics hard, so it's in everything, bro. The casing of this camera, it's got to be BPA. This phone, this computer mouse, hard plastic, probably BPA. Your phone case may be BPA. Like the Huel bottle. You've heard of the company Huel? A lot of YouTubers are doing sponsorships. BPA free. When they say BPA free, it's usually worse. You know why? Because BPA is a chemical that we understand. They put weird shit in it when it's BPA free. So it's still plastic. It's still fucking up your sperm. But now they use something called BPS, which is probably just as bad, or maybe even a little bit worse. So when it gets to this point, when I'm hearing, okay, soft plastics are bad for you, hard plastics are bad for you, BPA is bad for you, but if it says BPA free, that's also probably bad for you. At this point, boycott plastics. Just try your best to start one by one to replace the plastics around you. And it's as small as, for example, I just ordered a bunch of metal pens. So instead of using the normal plasticky ones, I just ordered a couple of metal ones because I journal for maybe an hour a day or something. So, okay, that's a small little change that I've made. And is it so hard for me for the rest of my life just to think I'm just someone who uses metal pens instead of the plastic ones? Now, there might be a time when I have to write something in some office or whatever it is. But I can just take control of that. And now that's probably a small amount of exposure compounded over my entire life that I've just gotten rid of. And pesticides. That's the 4th chemical that is like an endocrine disruptor. So pesticides are chemicals that are put over plants, usually plants, to kind of kill the insects on them. And you've probably heard of this before. Think about it. They're putting chemicals over the vegetables and the foods that you eat, which kills little animals and insects. And then you eat that vegetable. Don't worry, they'll just wash it with a bit of water. And the water that they're washing it with is contaminated with birth control hormones. So I don't think it's crazy. Like, your diet, you do what you want, but I don't think it's crazy to start to consider that. What the fuck can you eat, bro? You can't have shit, can you? Just get naked, and then just stand there in the sun and just hope that nothing touches you. And like, oh, you can't be in the sun either because the sun gives you cancer. There's nothing you can do anymore, bro. No matter what you try and do, there's some chemicals affecting you. Still, eat your vegetables and whatever diet you like, that's absolutely fine. But just bear these things in mind, that for probably like a lot of like low quality farms and low quality, you know, if you go into a supermarket, the cheapest bag of fruit there or something, that's probably got a lot worse stuff. What you can start to do is go to the better supermarkets, and specifically the ones which are advertised as like the healthy ones, the organic, the pesticide free, they've got these words that like usually we just thought they were cope and we just walk past like, oh, but only macros matter, bro. Just give me the protein, bro. Now you're beginning to realize that those weird like skinny looking people who are going into like the organic part of the supermarket, which everything's more expensive, and we always just thought like, oh, it's stupid, it's got the same protein in it anyway. Well, there's actually a reason to go there, because you know what, the organic stuff is more expensive. Well, guess why? You're literally paying for a free for a testosterone boost. The other things are cheaper. You're saving it like pennies, but you're literally saying to yourself like, oh yeah, like I would trade these pennies for 50 nanograms of testosterone. Is it really worth it? Now you're actually thinking about those skinny granola bar looking motherfuckers in the organic aisle. Maybe they were right. That like whole food section, the organic aisle where they don't even use like plastic wrapping for some of the things. You go directly to the farmer and buy directly from him. You go to the farmer's market and you even just, I know it can sound weird, but you can literally just tell people, like, let's say you go to some like actual farmer store or some like Asian store and they've got all the fruit outside. You can tell, oh, no, don't put it in plastic, please. Don't put it in plastic, please. And then you bring your own little cardboard box, or you ask them, do you have anything else you could put it in, please? Oh yeah, I just plastic, I'm allergic. You can just say that and people, like, no one's going to be sat there thinking like an intellectual asking you like, what's the allergy? I've never heard that before. They're just, you know, most people are NPCs, so as soon as you say like, oh, allergies, they'll be like, oh, okay, here you go, here's a cardboard box. I said this yesterday. I was in the gym and I asked for an empty glass. And I specifically said glass, actually. I said empty glass because I was just going to make my own pre-workout. Like, I've got the pre-workout, I've got water and stuff, so I was just going to mix it there in the cafe of the gym just before I went up, whilst I was just like finishing a coffee and stuff. And then she just hands me a plastic one. And I was like, oh, no, sorry, like I don't use plastic. And she like literally gave me like, oh, she was like, oh, and I was like, oh, it's like allergies. And she went, oh, okay. Like, they don't, everyone's an NPC, bro. So you can just say like, oh, I've got allergies, and they'll be like, oh, okay. Like,